Okay, so last night we were discussing about Satipatṭṭhāna, this method of meditation. It's taught by the Buddha in order to develop this Vipassana insight into a governance suffering oneself. So, as I explained, Satipatṭṭhāna is this mindfulness that is firmly established. So that means the mindfulness is so well developed that it is occurring with unbroken continuity. So, occurring moment to moment to moment, with strength, with momentum, with precision, with clarity. So this is a type of mindfulness which we want to develop in our practice. So mindfulness itself is this wholesome awareness, pure awareness that is untainted by any elemental defilements. It's this deep awareness that sinks or immerses the mind into the object. It allows the mind to explore the object thoroughly, deeply. It's this unforgetful awareness that brings to mind clearly the object that has been experienced in the present moment, not letting the object out of sight, not letting attention drift away from the object into other things. Now, but what are these objects that mindfulness notes? Okay? So what are these objects that we bring into the mind with mindfulness when we are developing Satipatṭṭhāna? And so tonight we will discuss about the object that we note when we practice Satipatṭhāna. Now, objects are important when it comes to meditation. So, without objects, you cannot develop meditation. So, when we say bhavana, so bhavana means we are developing, strengthening, intensifying certain wholesome mental states. So, but how do we develop, strengthen and intensify wholesome mental states? We do so by exercising the mind, by noting certain objects. So meditation involves noting of an object. So objects are important for meditation. So whenever we learn a subject of meditation, any subject of meditation, if you want to learn it, you want to practice it, first of all, we must know two things about that subject of meditation. The first is we must know, when we practice this meditation, what are the objects that we note. And secondly, we must know, when we contemplate, when we note this object, what is the state of mind that is supposed to develop. So we must know these two things. clearly before we can practice effectively. So by knowing what is the object to know, so when we practice, we know where to direct the mind inwards. And that also means we know where not to direct the mind. So we know what is the right object and what is not the right object. So, and by knowing what is the mental state that is supposed to develop when we know this object, so then we know that when we contemplate this, this state of mind is supposed to develop. If any other state of mind develop, then you know that we are not practicing correctly. So take for example, mental meditation. So when you practice mental meditation, what is the object? Loving kindness, no. Loving kindness is the mental state that is developed. Where do you direct your mind towards? Heavenly. Yes, what does that mean? It means living beings. It said all beings without happy and peaceful. So living beings is an object of mental meditation. And you see yourself clearly. So when we practice metta meditation, let's direct the mind towards living beings, not towards non-living beings. With this tree without happy and peaceful, with this mountain without happy and peaceful. No, that's the wrong object. But if we say, may the devas living in this tree without happy and peaceful, that is correct. As the deva is a living being. Yes.
Some people they metta to their organ, may my heart, may my mind. Physical.
That is kind of metta towards yourself. When you start metta meditation, you metta towards yourself. So, but you don't go to the extent of your heart, this and that. That is another power. It's not a Buddhist meditation. It's kind of they make some kind of determination or aspiration or to heal the body. So there are such type of practices. So like body beating. So when you bring your mind into the state that you allow healing to occur. Okay? So because the state of mind affects the body. Okay? So you bring the mind into a state that is wholesome, is healthy, very direct this parts to heal the body. See? That is such a business. But this is not metta. Metta at most it says, may I be well, happy and peaceful. So object of metta meditation is living beings. Okay? And then the mental state that is developed is of course metta. So when you practice correctly, it is this mental that is supposed to develop. That's gentleness of mind, that wish for the welfare, well-being of other beings. As well as for yourself. So, there's a genuine wish for the welfare, well-being of living beings. But if you practice metta meditation and you find yourself starting to develop attachment towards a person, then it's a wrong method that you're not developing correctly. Or we find lust or desire start to arise, then we are not practicing correctly. So you must know clearly what is the object, what is the mental state. Then another example, let's say asubha kamatana. So luxurious of the body. So in this case, what is the object? The parts of the body. Head, hair, body, hair, nails, teeth, skin, sinews, and so on. So, but in this case, it's not just the parts of the body, but rather the most combined towards the loathsome aspect of these parts of the body. So, for example, the head hair. So, you don't think of head hair, or you think of hair so beautiful, silky, smooth, and all that. That is a wrong object. Direct the one towards the loathsome aspect of the head hair. For example, you think, so this involves some visualization. You think of the hair. You don't wash it for 1 year. What happens? It becomes very dirty, full of dust, dirt, full of grease, and so on, very smelly. You lie down on the pillow, so the pillow got dirty. So you think of such a loathsome aspect of the hair. So in this meditation, you have direct mind towards the loathsome aspect. So it's called asubha. Asubha means loathsome, dirty, not beautiful. So, and what is the mental state that is developed? What? Distraction, yes. Detachment from the body. This subject of meditation is suitable for those who have a lot of attachment to body. So, the mental state that's supposed to develop detachment from the body. But if you find that when you develop this, it's got to hate your own body, aversion towards your own body, then it's a wrong mental state. Because aversion is akusala, unwholesome. When we meditate, we develop wholesome state of mind, not unwholesome state. So detachment is a wholesome state of mind, but aversion towards the body, that is unwholesome. So when it comes to Satipatṭṭhāna Vipassana meditation, what is the state of mind that's supposed to develop?
Insight.
inspect. This is the first question. Who said insight? Most people will say mindfulness. Yes, insight. So when we practice the Satipatṭṭhāna Vipassana meditation, we develop sati sampajanya, mindfulness together with this clarity of accurate clarity. This is sampajanya, which is actually insight. Clarity of mind that discerns clearly nature of the object, nature of metaphysical phenomena. So in this practice, we don't just develop mindfulness alone. It's mindfulness together with this sampajanya, with this clarity of insight. Because we say we develop mindfulness only, then actually in samatha meditation also, you develop mindfulness. So in samatha meditation it involves mindfulness as well. So without mindfulness you cannot meditate. Like if you take the Buddhanussati, so you take the right mindfulness again and again towards the quality of the Buddha. So there's mindfulness people. So you make your mindfulness to keep establishing on the object. In this case, on the quality of the Buddha. That one can stay on the quality of the Buddha. Then from there it develops. So you practice, let's say, kasina. You also need mindfulness skill. Keep establishing on that kasina object. Without this, the jhana factors cannot develop. So mindfulness keeps establishing firmly on the image, the kasina image. Then only the vitaka, vichara, and so on can develop. So in samatha also, you have mindfulness, not just vipassana. But in Satipatṭṭhāna Vipassana meditation, so as mindfulness, that as it develops mindfulness, gradually the clarity of mind also develops. So it's this clarity of insight that makes it practice as Satipatṭṭhāna Vipassana. Without this insight, this just it's not even considered Vipassana meditation. Because they're not developing any insight. And so in this practice we develop both sati sampajanya. But also in the beginning, this clarity of mind is not present. And you need to develop it before it arises. In fact, in the beginning, there's not much mindfulness to begin with. So in the beginning, you can make effort to keep bringing up the mindfulness continuously. No. With this mindfulness, so you need effort to keep bringing up this mindfulness and direct it to note every object, every moment, continuously. As you make effort in this way, practicing correctly, noting correctly, gradually, this will lead to Satipatṭṭhāna. But in order to develop into Satipatṭṭhāna, the mindfulness that's developed must be, according to the method of Satipatṭṭhāna, the mindfulness must be continuously and precisely directed to know the four objects of Satipatṭhāna: body, feeling, consciousness, and the Dhammas. Essentially, these four objects, essentially they are just nama-rupa, mental physical nature. The body is the physical nature, rupa. Vedana citta, feeling and consciousness, they are nama-dhamma, mental nature. And then dhammas, nature of belonging. They include both mental as well as physical nature. So these four objects of Satipatṭṭhāna, essentially, they are nama-rupa, mental physical nature. So mindfulness must be directed continuously to note these four objects, this mental physical nature, again and again, precisely. So you direct the mindfulness in this way gradually. There's clarity of insight, the Satipatṭṭhāna will develop. So the Satipatṭṭhāna is an accurate clarity. And of particular importance in our practice is this accurate clarity with regards to the nature of nama-rupa, especially Vipassana insight, clarity, insight that discerns clearly nature of impermanent suffering, not so. So, now, in order to develop this insight into impermanent suffering, not so. So, we need to note an object that has the nature of impermanent suffering, not so. Okay? So, what is this object that has this nature of impermanent suffering also? So you look at the suttas. Buddha always talk about impermanent suffering also, right? So whenever we talk about impermanent suffering also, what was he referring to? So you look at the suttas, it's always referring to defined aggregates, or a six sense space, or the 18 allegories, or just generally, it says formations, sabbe sakkara anicca, all formations are impermanent. So, no. So these aggregates, sense, these elements, these are the various ways that the Buddha classified mental physical nature. So 5 aggregates basically is just mental physical nature. So do 6 sense days, elements and so on. So they are basically just mental physical nature. Okay? So it is its metaphysical nature. They are not impermanent, suffering and non-self. Okay? And this metaphysical nature, so often you hear that they described by the teachers as the Paramattha Dhamma, ultimate realities. Okay? So to develop Vipassana, we need to direct mind, the mindfulness, to know these ultimate realities, this metaphysical nature. As this metaphysical nature that has the nature of impermanent suffering also, calling to the good end. Now, ultimate reality, what does it mean? Ultimate reality. So it means that which is ultimately real. That which is real nature. Real nature is truly existing nature. It's a truly existing metaphysical nature. So they truly exist. That means they are not made up or imagined by the mind, but they naturally exist. So, in contrast to this is other concepts or ideas that are imagined or conceived by the mind. For example, idea of arm or foot or abdomen, or person or self, and so on. So, for example, let's say in walking meditation. So walking meditation, if you really note the walking process carefully, and your mind is really noting in the moment. So you see, one moment of experience is very fast, right? There's no time to think. So, for example, experience of a song, we hear the song. You experience it, right? And now, it's gone. Right? It's so fast, gone. Eat that moment, and when it arises, and you nod it. Then it's gone. See? Do you have time to think what is that? You don't have time, right? You just have time to experience it clear, to take note of it clearly, right? So similarly in walking meditation, so when you are noting each moment, you only have time to experience the sensation one after another, right? So you're lifting the foot, it's lifting, then you feel there's a sensation, and then it's gone, finished. Then continue to live, another sensation, till you know, then it's gone. And then breathe some more, another sensation. So you keep noting like this, breathing. So it's happening one after another, right? So you can noting precisely in each moment, right? No. All you experience in the moment is just sensation, right? Sensation, one after another. So we don't have time to even think what sensation, what is the name of the sensation. You only have time to experience clearly that the nature of the sensation in that moment. So, and all the sensations that they experience in each moment, they are real. They are not imagined by the mind. So, So they are there in your experience. Your mind observe it carefully, the mind can pick up its nature. So it's this sensation, they are called ultimate realities. Because they are real nature, they are truly existing nature. So they are not imagined by the mind. But if you do not know properly, so you do experience the sensation, but you experience it superficially. A little bit here, a little bit there. So instead of discerning each sensation clearly in the process, one after another, so your mind will take this superficial experience of the sensation. Little sensation here, little sensation there. So and then the mind will then process it. Put together all this sensation in the mind, and then in the mind form an idea of certain form and shape. And then once you have this form and shape, then you form another idea in your mind. This form and shape is in mindful. So and then it can go further. Mindful is underground. So all these ideas that's conceived by the mind, these are called concepts. They're not real. The mind made them up. They are conceived by the mind, made up by the mind. Imagined by the mind. So they are not real. So, but with the Buddha teaching, we are called, they are recognized as a type of reality, but not ultimate reality, because ultimately they are not real. But they are called what we call conventional reality. Samudit Sachi. Not Paramattha Sachi, but Samudit Sachi. So, conventional truth or conventional reality. That means everybody agree. Convention means agreement. We all agree this is called a truth. So tomorrow we all make another agreement. From now on, this is not called truth, this is called a hand. Then on we call it a hand. And that's conventional reality. So this reality through agreement. And convention change. Right? Today we call it a foot, tomorrow we call it a hand. So, but ultimate reality cannot change. In the Buddha's time it's called greed, lopa. It has this nature, stick to the object, never let go, clinging. Now, more than 2,500 years later, it's still that same nature. Greed is still greed. It still have that nature, never change. So, so concepts is something that's imagined or conceived by our mind. So they do not really exist. Ultimately, in the ultimate sense, they do not exist. They exist only because my mind made them up. So it's something that, and so we all live in a world of concepts all the time. If we do not practice Vipassana meditation, it's like you're stuck in a world of concepts. You never go beyond the concepts to experience the world of ultimate realities clearly. So it's like, many years ago, and when I was a lady, there was this movie, I'm sure you all know this movie, The Matrix. So, you see those people, their mind are hooked up to a machine, right? And this machine is simulating a world. Right? But that world is not real, but they think it's real. So in the same way, we are living in a world of concept. Often we think this world of concept is real. It's only that you wake up. There's people in the movie, they wake up and they take the pill, they are given two choices. And the red and the blue pill, I forgot which is which. They take the pill and they wake up. It's like enlightenment. They wake up. And then they see, it's not real. So Vipassana, you also wake up in a sense to another reality. Okay? So these concepts, they do not really exist. Okay? So because they do not really exist, they do not have real nature. Right? So that which does not exist, it does not have any real nature. Only the mental, physical nature and Namarupa, which really exists, they have real nature. Earth element and nature of hardness, fire element, nature of heat, consciousness and nature of knowledge. So, but concepts do not have real nature, because they don't exist. The concepts, they do not have real nature. Something that does not exist, you cannot describe their nature. For example, let's say I don't have a car, right? So if I come and tell you, hey, my car is blue in color, does it make sense? My car don't exist, so how can I describe it as blue? Right? So it's only imaginary, right? In the real sense, it doesn't exist. So it doesn't have any real nature. Okay? So things that does not have real nature, so you cannot describe its nature. So can you say that this is impermanent? No, you cannot, right? Because it doesn't have any real nature. So only what is real, you can describe it as impermanent, or suffering, or non-self. So So in our practice, we must know that in order to develop insight into the governance suffering oneself, we must note the ultimate realities that really exist. Because only this has this display the nature of impermanent suffering in your soul. So we must make sure that we are noting the right object. Because if we note the wrong object, and you note concepts, then it cannot develop insight, no matter how long you know. That's why in our practice, we may start off with rising, falling, right? But rising, falling is actually a concept. It's a concept of direction, up and down, right? Or you think of the form and shape of the abdomen and so on, right? So, or you start with that, but you must not get stuck with that. So as you think about the mind is there's a mindfulness concentration there. You must begin to pick up the physical and mental reaction behind the experience arising and falling. Okay? So, otherwise you get stay just up and down. After a while, you can still develop mindfulness and concentration, but it becomes more like a samatha practice. Okay? So you don't develop like an insight, because the mind starts with concepts. Okay, so in the Satipatṭṭhāna Sutta, Buddha instructed the yogis to adopt these four objects: body, feet, consciousness, and the dhammas. So dhammas is natural belonging, mental, physical belonging. So these four objects, essentially, they are all mental, physical nature. Either mental or physical. Now the first one, Kāya. Kāya, body. So this is the object that is connected with the gross physical body. So Kāya, this word Kāya has the meaning of collection or group. So its meaning is actually very close to Khanda, Khanda equity. So Kāya also is like a collection of a group. So for example, if we say Devan Kāya, that means a group of devas. But here Kāya means body. Body here means the collection of rupa, collection of physical nature. And for the purpose of our practice, it refers to collection of the four elements. Four primary material elements: earth, wind, fire, and water element. So, now if you look at the Kāya Vipassana, section of Kāya Vipassana in the Satipatṭṭhāna Sutta, so Buddha did talk about objects like the parts of the body, Kāya Gata Sati. Note the various parts of the body, head, hair, body, hair, and so on. So now, and also there is the meditation on the different causes. So I think 14 different types of causes altogether. There are causes in the various stages of decay. So these two objects, the parts of the body and causes, they involve some degree of conscience. Okay, so but in our practice we don't take these two as an object. Okay, So we don't have to consider them. Yeah? So, and even them also, all these objects, I find in some tradition where they take these parts of the body as an object. Ultimately, they also arrive at the four elements. Okay? For example, when they complicate the bed, then they also knock the earth element in the head here. Okay? So ultimately, they also go back to the four elements. Okay? But in our practice, we don't take the other objects under Kāya Vipassana, like Anapana. So Anapana, according to the explanation of Mahasiddhanta, right? So this Anapana, you can practice it as, take it as a samatha object or a Vipassana object. Yes. So you can practice Anapana as a samatha practice or as a Vipassana practice. Okay? And according to Mahasiddhanta, when you practice it as samatha meditation, we note the in and out breath at the tip of the nostril, at this point. But if you take it as a Vipassana practice, according to the Sayadaw, you can note the breathing as it occurs in various parts of the body. This is what we do. So we note the rising, falling, which is not true. The rising, falling is connected with breathing. Yes? So we note the rising, falling, for example, abdomen or the chest. So that can be considered also as a samatha practice. And in this case, it involves the elements. Rising, falling is an element, especially a weak element. So, and then we also note the posture of the body. So, standing, so during walking meditation, at the end of the path we note standing. So, sometimes, for example, you are waiting in the lunch break, and they're standing there, so not standing, sitting. Then walking meditation. And sitting, during a sitting meditation, if you're not a sitting posture. And then at night when you lie down on your bed, you also not the lying posture. So, but this posture also goes back to the four elements. So we are not the posture like sitting in the mid element. Primarily, the posture is the mid element. But other elements may be present also. And then the section on Satipatṭṭhāna, Buddha instructs to apply Satipatṭṭhāna, this clear comprehension, clarity on various activities, going forward, returning, looking away, looking sideways, bending, stretching, and so on. When the Sutta Buddha said, wear the robes because he's giving instruction to the monks for your wearing your clothing. So, eating and so on. So various activities. And so, like clear noting. So this is also we practice. And this is the meditation of daily activities. And this also goes back to the four elements. So you're not stretching. You observe carefully the sensation, or sometimes the scratching. Really balance of pulling. This is a main element taking place. Okay? And then the section on the four elements is very directly the four elements. So this one you don't really even you don't touch points. Touchy. You don't get the four elements. You don't the legs touching. You may feel the warmness, there's a fire, a bit of softness, which you see. You feel the pressure, which is the real evidence. Okay? So actually all these objects that we know goes back to the four elements. Okay? So Kāya is the four elements, collection of the four elements. So when we say body, it's this collection of the four elements. But not, even though we say we're not the body, you don't need to not the entire body. Not necessarily the entire body. Because even a single part of the body, there is a collection of the elements. Even this one tiny little point here, the tip of the nostril. You observe carefully. That's why you take that as a Vipassana. You observe carefully. You breathe in, you feel coolness. You breathe out, you feel warmness. And this warmness, coolness, this is a higher element. So sometimes you feel the smoothness or the roughness of the breath. This is the other element. Sometimes you feel the pressure. As the air goes in and out, we feel the pressure. That is a weak element. Yes? So equally in the outline, there's already this collection of the elements. So it's not necessary to know the entire body. And so we usually get not parts of the body. So actually all the primary objects that we know. This is sky, rising falling sky. So rising mostly is the weak element. Feel like the pushing, the pressure, support, and collapsing, relaxing, and so on. Sometimes you feel softness also, which is the upper element. So walking meditation also, lifting, pushing, pressing, you observe carefully the weak element. Pressure, tightness, tension, pulling, pushing. These are all the weak element, the motion, sway. So by based on you feel hardness, offended, not softness, not so offended. You feel the coolness and the warmness. This is the high element. When feel smooth or bad, and also offended. Or stickiness. A little bit like the water element. So these elements, this collection of elements can be discerned in various parts of the body. So you have to contemplate the entire body. You just direct it to one part. The abdomen or the chest, you feel the up and down, the rising point, and you can discern elements. It's present in every single part of the body. Okay. Now, these four elements. In theory, when we study the elements, we call it, we give it names, earth element, wind element, fire element, water element. And then we also study description of this element. What is its characteristic, its function, its manifestation, its proximate cause. But all these are just names, descriptive words, but they are just concepts, not real. Okay? So, everybody did, in practical experience, when we discern the elements, we discern them not through their names or their description. In fact, we don't need to know the name or the description of the elements that we experience. So how do we experience them? How do we discern them? We discern them by means of their nature, their characteristic nature, what we call the subtle, the natural qualities. So in this case, the natural physical qualities, which can be directly perceived by the mind. So for example, now you're sitting in this room, you feel, what do you feel? You feel coolness, right? So this coolness, what is it? It's the nature of the fire element. Okay? So you're not cool, or coolness. So when you note this coolness, like this, you're paying attention, taking note of the nature of coolness. Right? So when you note in this way, whether or not you know whether that this is a fire element, this is not this fire. You are noting the fire element, whether or not you know this is a fire element. So whether or not you can describe, oh, this is the nature of this fire element, that is not important. Okay? So what is important is that in that moment, you are experiencing, taking note of this nature of coolness, clearly. And there you are already grasping the higher element. So you don't even have to know which element this is, or what is the name of this element. You just need to experience this nature, take note of it clearly in the moment. Okay, that's enough. So we don't even have to know how to describe it, because often yogis, when they experience, especially the sensation is something new, you may not know what to call it. And then something yogi, what to label it as. You do not know what to label it is, simply just knowing, enough. Okay? You just know it, you are knowing it. Some sensation. So, of course, during the interview, it's helpful if you can describe it, what you are experiencing. But let's say you cannot give a need to it, so then you can describe it by means of a simile. You say, Bhante, I experienced something sensational like when you put Satipatṭṭhāna and then you peel off the skin, and I feel something like that. Okay? Or I feel something like, when you apply Pilo Bhavu, then you get persistent, something like that. Some yogis describe the sensation, for example, I feel something like, the dough, the bread dough, being stretched, something like that. Okay? So, you can describe things like this, what you experience. Okay? Then sometimes yogis come in the interview. Bhante, I experienced wind element. I will not accept this. You have to describe what you experience. Because you say wind element is very vague. What exactly you experience? Sometimes they say the wind element, but when they start to describe it, it's not actually wind element. So don't in the interview, don't use technical terms, Dhamma technical terms. Okay? Describe your experience using everyday language, exactly as you experience it. Okay, now. Okay, so talk about the earth element. So, earth element is very simple. Its nature is simply nature hardness. Okay? So, this quality of hardness, that is the earth element. Okay? So he asks, what is the earth element? He said, it is nature hardness. So, that hardness is like that nature hardness, that is the earth element. Okay? But this nature hardness is relative. Okay? So you take, for example, a piece of rock and a piece of wood. Both also hard, right? But the wood compared to a piece of rock, which is harder? The rock is harder, right? So, relative to the rock, the wood is soft. Okay? So, in experience, earth element is not just hardness, softness also. Okay? It's a matter of how strong is the earth element. It's very strong, then you feel it as hard. Okay? While it's weak, then you feel soft. Okay? So, yeah. So when you think of earth element, you're not necessarily always hard. Sometimes you'll be thinking, it must be very hard, then only I can do. Okay? So it's softness. Sometimes it can be very, very soft because it's very weak, it becomes very soft. So then you must make effort to know it. And the nature is still there. Okay? And softness is still there, but you have to make effort. Feel clearly. So, So it's nature of hardness and softness. So even here, that element here, that is the soft. So even in water also, we put the hand in it feels soft. That's the when the air here, right now. So as I can't blow on you, you feel soft sensation. That's up element. Okay? So you see that these elements, 4 elements, they are present in all objects, all material objects. They are present. All 4 of them, they are present. Okay? So they're present in the air around us. They're present here in our body. Everywhere, any material objects. See, they're present. The list of element is everywhere. When the air is very weak, that's why you feel soft. So according to Lady Seattle, even in a beam of light is material. The 4 elements are present. See? But all the element in a beam of light is very, very weak. That's why even though light is falling on your body, you don't feel that you are a big punch. Right? In fact, you don't feel anything at all. So hardness and softness. So it is a very simple quality. So simple that even a small child can understand. Vipassana objects actually they are very simple. In study, you use very big words. Earth element, or you hear earth element, wow. Something very big. Here the Pali words about Patavi Dharti, wow. Something very difficult to understand. Actually, it's very simple. It's darkness and softness. No, nothing difficult. So, and it's present in our experience. You just have to pay attention. The awareness many times throughout the day. When you're sitting meditation, and you feel the cushion is soft or hard. So the we feel soft. Rising, falling also. And it's very relaxed, really soft. So every day we touch a lot of things. We open the door, you touch the mouth. Eating, you touch the utensils. So feel a lot of hardness and softness. So when you eat the food also, there's hardness, softness, texture. So this is nature of unbalanced hardness and softness. Now, but there's another nature. The up element has another nature. Roughness. So roughness is also nature of the up element. But again, it's relative. So not just roughness and smoothness. This cloth is brown. When you touch this smooth. This is upper element. So again, it's very simple qualities. Not difficult to understand. Now, next will be the wind element. Now, wind element is important because wind element is predominant in our bodily experience. Therefore, it is also predominant in most of the bodily objects that we do, rising, falling, sitting, standing, walking, daily activities. We get out, we sit down, we stretch and bend, we turn and so on. With element are predominant. Yes? So, any actions, physical actions that involve motion or that involve holding or supporting the body still in a certain posture, it will be predominated by with element. Okay? No, but with element is, unlike other element, is more difficult to understand, and it's often misunderstood by yogis. Now yogis are probably think that with element is this air around you. So sometimes they say, I experience with element. But you ask them to distract, they say, I feel the air soft, cool, glowing. That is not with element. The softness you feel is the target element. The coolness is the higher element. Okay? So what is wind element? The wind element is the material nature of support. Okay? The nature of support. Now, to understand this, you can think of the inflatable oil. That children play, like let's say inflatable dinosaur. So if you pump all the air out of this dinosaur, what happens? It will collapse. It will go shut on the shore. So why? Because there's no air inside the support. Right? So you start to pump air into it. Right? So as the air goes into it, the air starts to push from inside out. Okay? And then as it pushes, it supports. Right? There's a support. So it support, when the dinosaurs start to stand up, start to take shape. Okay? So this is due to the nature of support. From the air itself. Okay? So this nature of support is the wind element. Okay? So it's not the air itself that is the wind element, but it's the nature of the support, okay, due to the air. Okay? So in fact, it's not necessary to have air. Okay? Even if you always say pump water into it, it will still support. Okay? The nature of support is still there. Okay? So it's the nature of support that is the wind element. Okay? So in our body also, there's this support, nature of support, wind element. Okay? Without this, your body will collapse. Right? Now you're all sitting up. Why do your body don't collapse? Because there's something supporting the body. Yeah? So in our body, there's all these muscles and the skeletal structure. As well as, to some extent, pressure from all the bodily fluids. These are all causes of wind element. It supports the body. Okay? So without this support, your body will collapse. Okay? So you can feel it now while you are sitting. You can feel you sit upright, you can feel that support. Something holding, a force that's holding up the body. Okay? You feel the support, strongness. Sometimes you feel your so stiff, spineless. mình lift your hand up also. If you will support the pushes it up. That feels like it pushing it up. Support. And then it holds it in. Yeah. You let go of this colors. Okay? As long as I have the intention to hold, it's there. Yeah? You have to let go of the intention of these colors. Okay? So that is the nature of it. Yeah? That's the big value. Yeah? So this is support. Because it's like the air that pushes, that gives support. It also causes the sensation of pressure, stiffness, tightness, distension. Okay? So this is a characteristic of the wind element. The support, pressure, the distension. So, and because of the nature of the support, the pushing, and it also causes motion, vibration. So at the rising quality, you feel it pushes, so there's a movement. Okay? When it weakens, they collapse. It moves the other way. Okay? So this movement is the function of the wind element. Wind element, its function is a cause movement. Okay? And because of the wind element also, they experience parts of the body being brought from one place to another. Okay? So like walking meditation, outside the foot being lifted up, push forward, place down. So this is the manifestation of the wind element. So we can discern this wind element, the rising, falling, sitting, standing, walking, and all the daily activities. Okay? So the range of support. Okay? So you feel like walking, pressure, it pushes not. You feel the tightness. When you lift up, you pull it. And going forward, you feel like pushing. That's the wind element. Okay? Now, most of the wind element that we experience, especially in our daily life, daily activities, they are what we call chittaja rupa. That means the chittaja is mind born, born of the mind. That means the mind produces this wind element. The wind element that are produced by the mind. The intention, for example. That's why you walking meditation here, you know, intention is that really. So you watch that intention, it becomes not completely lifted. That the mind again lift some more, and then it goes. And then again, some more, and it goes. Okay? So again and again, the mind, the intention, is producing this movement. So this is called mind-originated materiality. Yeah, daily activities. You watch, stretching, bending, all due to intention. They are produced by the mind. Throughout our waking hours, when we are awake, our mind actually continuously producing wind element that supports our body. That's why you go about, when you are awake, you go about walking, standing, sitting, and so on. You never collapse. The body don't collapse. Because the mind is continuously producing the wind element. It may not work business, it's more like in the background. But it is producing this material. Otherwise the body will collapse. Like when you lose consciousness, you fade. You fade the consciousness, the waking consciousness will cut off. So when you get cut off, then no longer produce, no wind element is being produced. The support will go in, so the body just collapses. So when you're meditating, you're drowsy. Drowsy, the waking mind become weak. When you become weak, the weak element that's produced also become weak. So you find your body move better or down. So when you totally lose, go to sleep, your waking consciousness got cut off. What happened? Your whole body falls. Right? But the moment it falls down, because it's so drastic, immediately you wake up. Right? The moment you wake up, the waking consciousness is there. Again, the wind element is produced. So you don't fall completely, it gets up again. See? That is practice like a one. Okay. Okay. Very quickly, now we go through. In the Satipatṭṭhāna Sutta, in the Majjhima Nikaya, the discourse, the greater discourse of the simile of the elephant footprint. So in this sutta, Venerable Sariputta talked about, he listed the 6 types of internal wind element. That means can be found within the body. So first one is Uddara, that means outgoing wind. So this is the wind element that causes vomiting, burping. So sometimes they experience burping. So you don't that burping, you don't the pressure building up, you do pushing, pressure builds up. And then at some point it releases, and then you feel vibration. That's the outgoing wind. The second one is the Adogamago, that means downgoing wind. So downgoing wind is the other direction. So this is a wind element that's responsible for expelling excrement, urine, gas. So mostly you experience this in the toilet. That's why Buddha said when he goes by it also you must meditate. The Buddha did not let you go. We went toilet also you must not think it about. Yes. In the Satipatṭṭhāna Sutta, section on Sampajjana, it says, Uchara pasava kamvesa prajaya karipoti. In urinating, in defecating, he applies clear comprehension. Do we all apply clear comprehension? So, it's darkening. Then the third one is Kuchisaya, wind in the belly. So Master said this is the rising falling. Wind in the belly. Breathe, eat the belly, expand. And that's a wind element. You breathe out, it collapses. It's a wind element weakens. So there's a wind in the belly. And then Kontasaya, the wind in the bowel. Then say that intestines. Say the intestines, so that's the wind element that moves all the food. We call that peristalsis movement. That's the wind element. Otherwise, the fruit that you eat cannot move. Okay? That's why if this green element in the intestines, the bowel become weak, and you get constipated, and you cannot move. Okay? On the other hand, if it becomes too strong, it moves very fast. So it even cause the downgoing breath to become strong. Then you get diarrhea. Then the fifth one is Ingamanga Musari. This is the green element that runs through all the limbs, all the major and minor parts of the body. It runs through the entire body. So this is a green element that causes standing up, sitting down, it produces various movements, bending, stretching, walking. So it not just causes movement in the limbs, but in every part of the body. You turn your head when you roll your eyes, when you open and close the eyelids, when you wriggle your fingers and your toes. The body is twitching, jerking, twisting. These are caused by this green element that runs through the body. So in every part of the body has this green element. You may feel that you bring attention to the palm of your hand. You feel carefully this very subtle, minute vibrations. That's the green element. In some of body also, the blood flow, circulation, is caused by green element. Your arms, you increase the green element, pushes the blood through the body. So there are green element running through all over our body. So when your body is very relaxed, this green element can flow very smoothly. So that you feel comfortable, healthy. When you try to sleep, you can fall asleep very easily. But sometimes this green element gets jammed. Usually because you're stressed out. So there's tension in your body. So this green element gets jammed. And then you start to feel stiffness, tension, discomfort all over the body. You try to sleep, you cannot sleep. So the green element in our body is not balanced. If it's too strong or too weak, it gives rise to all kinds of health problems. So, and then the last one is the internal green element. The last one is in and out breath. So when you breathe in and you breathe out. So all these 6 internal green elements, you can notice at one time or another during your practice. So they are not difficult to discern. Once you understand what's the nature of the green element. Now, one last point before we end. Now, so now you hear the description of the study. Later we also describe the fire and then the water and then. But it's important that in your practice, you don't go searching for them. Okay? So you can go and search, where is the hardness, where is the softness? So, then we just go about meditating as usual, noting whatever object appear in the moment. Okay? So, and as you are noting, if in that moment when you are noting this nature, hardness or softness or roughness or smoothness or pressure or tightness, if this nature happen to appear in that moment, then you take note of it. So you take note of it only when they are there, present in your experience. If they are not present, don't go searching for it. You know whatever is present is prominent in the moment. So the reason why we explain all these natures to you is so that when they are present, you take note. Otherwise, you think these are not important. Hardness only also special, and then you ignore. Okay? So once you understand nature, then when it's present, then you pay attention to it. Okay? If they are not there, then you don't go searching for it. Okay? You know what is there. Okay, we stop here.